All right, so I wanted to resume with the active reading lesson. The other movie, or the other video rather, not movie, the other video was about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to go over the last few slides that we have here in terms of the note taking. So we're on outline at this point, and I just wanted you to remember in terms of what I discussed with you in class the other day is that you're using the objectives to help you with your, with your outline. So the objectives would be your main idea. So for number 1, 2, 3, and however objectives you have, you're going to jot down your objectives. So let's look at like chapter 1 in your textbook, right? You have step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So step 1 would be main idea number 1. Preview before you read. So what are the key things they tell you in terms of in the textbook that you need to do when you're previewing before you read? Like why it's important, what kind of content will help you in reference to that. Okay, so just make sure that for your outline, you're using those details from the textbook to enforce what the main ideas are, okay? All right, so next we have Cornell Notes, and I'm going to just use this graphic here, but you have the other information just to read at your leisure, okay? So first and foremost, you have your topic, okay, which is noted here. For your topic, you're going to write down the name. For many of you, you probably know this already, but for the rest of you who do not know, you're not familiar with this style, and it's a great studying tool, you'd write down the topic that's noted there in your textbook. So for instance, it would be like for chapter 2, vocabulary, right? So you'd write vocabulary, then you have your header, name, class, not period because we're not in high school, but this was a very good visual of what I wanted. So you'd have those particular 3 components from your header or heading in your Cornell Notes when you're submitting it to me. The questions or keywords, you would pretty much use the objectives from your book. So let's say that you're focusing on chapter 1, 4-step reading process, right? Preview before you read. So you'd write down how to preview before you read, or preview before you read, or preview. Okay, so that would be in the far left-hand side where you see questions or keywords. But on the right-hand side, you would write down your answers or details. And again, I want to stress, write down information that you do not know. Don't focus too much on what you do know. Try to strengthen your weak areas in terms of what you don't know about that topic. Now for your summary, you would write down your summary, recap in your own words what you understood from it. And I want to show you towards the latter part of this PowerPoint how to really structure your summary, okay? And I know a couple of you like writing summaries. So again, you have all this information. I want to scroll down. So before I go to your summary, I want to address the paraphrasing, okay? So for paraphrasing, bear in mind there is a format that you need to use. So try to avoid having to use the same structure in the sentence when you are paraphrasing. So if you look here at the very first sentence, it says, during his career, he visited some of the most beautiful parts of the world. Cape Breton, the Windward Islands, Jamaica, and so forth, right? So again, looking at the structure. If you look on the right-hand side, you will see in the course of his career. So in the course of his career is pretty much the same as during his career, okay? He visited some of the most beautiful parts and so forth and so forth. You're mimicking the same thing. You're just, rephrasing a couple of words. No, that's plagiarism, my dear. So the correct format would be this, right? You have the original quote and then the effective paraphrase. So on the left-hand side, you would see that it says, new tracks aside, the challenge is at the bare minimum to bring light and air into his underground purgatory, and beyond that, to create for millions of people a new space, and so forth. So let's stop right here with that sentence. You would put it in your mind, first comprehend what that sentence is saying, then look away from that sentence and then write down in your own words what you're trying to say. So just trying to pretend more or less that you are talking to your sibling or to another person, and you just want to tell them, hey, this is what I read, and here's what it said, right? So that example would be the effective paraphrase. One of the biggest issues facing Penn Station's revitalization is developing a brighter and airier space. So you're saying the same thing, but not in the same structure or flow as the other sentence, okay? It means the same, all right? Last but not least, we have our summarizing, okay? So with the summarizing, especially when it comes to your structure, you would have the main idea, and that would be the first thing, the main points of the article, right? So what is the main point? And then you would have your supporting details in terms of who, what, where, and so forth, right? So you would give those details in terms of additional essential information. And then eventually you get to the less essential details, which are your specific examples. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, let me just show you. So first and foremost, like I told you, you have your main point, right? So the main point is in blue. Still I Rise depicts a poet that rises above the obstacles or problems she has faced throughout her life, okay? Or you can even say Still I Rise by Maya Angelou depicts a poet, okay? Because sometimes you might have to memorize for certain assignments the author's name, okay? So it's important that you embed that in there, but this is perfectly fine as well. Then in the red, more or less, you have your major points. And these are different points from the paragraphs or stanzas that the author addresses, okay? So again, it's different from paraphrasing. You have your main idea first, and then your major points, and then a specific example. So the major points are, she expresses that no matter what people discuss regarding her past, she continues to rise. Furthermore, she questions if her confidence and wittiness laments her enemy, okay? Maya emphasizes no matter what her enemy tries to do to her, she will continue to rise. Now, that's your major point. So those are major points throughout the stanzas, or if you're reading an article, paragraphs. Now, the next one is, for example, she states they may cut her with their eyes or kill her with hatefulness. Nothing will keep her down. So that will be a specific example to support the previous sentence about her emphasizing no matter what her enemy tries to do. She was general here, but then she gave us a specific example within her stanzas, and I placed that in there. Now, the last sentence can be either your overall insight or another point that kind of helps to wrap up what you're trying to say. So in this case, it states her past will not dictate who she is or hinder her from success. She will rise. Okay, so you can use that to help you in terms of writing your summary for your Cornell notes, or you can write a summary as your notes overall. That's perfectly fine because some of you prefer that. Okay, but just keep in mind that this first sentence will be the overall point of the entire chapter, and then the details, the major details, would be our objectives, and then over here would be the specific examples the textbook would give you. So for instance, with vocabulary, chapter 2, you would write down what is the overall point, okay? Like, the text provides a variety of strategies and clues to help you understand and to break down a vocabulary word. Then you would give the major details, such as the context clues and the word parts, to help you with that, okay? To help you with that in terms of supporting your main idea, all right? So if you have any questions, and as college students you should, please feel free to email me, and I look forward to hearing from you as well. Now we'll be creating just one more announcement as well. It might be video, might not. I will see. Okay? All right. Have a good afternoon.